Hello, friends. It is time for the NFL Week 7 preview episode of Stacking the Box. Sterling, I was just thinking, it seems like it was just yesterday we were getting ready for the NFL season, or even it was the dog days of summer, and we were hoping and praying for the NFL season to start. And now we are already into Week 7 of the regular season. Boy, time flies.
Third of the season behind us. Dude, I love it, man.
Yeah. A third of the season. Yeah, I guess 18 weeks, yeah. So we're a third of the way through.
But I love it. And this is kind of what we were talking about yesterday. We're finally into the part of the season where you can separate the pretenders from the contenders. You're trying to understand who your team is. We've seen some big trades getting put down the line, quite frankly, bigger trades than we've seen in the past, which I have some small thoughts on in regards to younger GMs. I do think there's something to these people who are younger, who are now in positions of power, who grew up playing Madden, where trades actually happen. No, I'm not kidding, though.
No, I like the take. I like it. Yeah.
Like, I think there's something to that where, like, in Madden, you trade all the time. Like, it's always trades happening. I'm not saying that they're only trading because of Madden, but I'm saying you're more transactional. And I think a lot of the older GMs, they just didn't trade as much, at least in season, right? You're starting to see more and more of it. Now, I'm not going to say it is Madden, but you're seeing Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper, and there's a lot more names being floated out there now, and I think there's legit possibilities. You'll see more and more big-name guys, and I think it's good for the NFL, good for the product. And again, I'm not sure. I didn't know you were going to like that take so much, that because of Madden that younger GMs are trading more, but I believe in it.
Yeah, I mean, back in, it was really not that long ago. I guess back before before probably 2000, more so in like the 80s, 90s, players, for the most part, just kind of played with the same team their entire career. That was not that rare, not the case anymore. But it is kind of funny because the NFL trade deadline, when is the deadline? Deadline has to be coming up, right? Within the next couple of weeks. The NFL trade line used to be just a complete non-topic. I remember I used to watch NFL Network all the time, and on trade deadline day, they would like briefly mention it, but like not even like spend time on it because no one would ever get traded. But sports, specifically the sport that I'm thinking of is the NHL, where trade deadline day was and still is a massive day. But trade deadline day when I was growing up in the NHL was huge because it was nonstop trades, huge trades, big names. Those have flipped. The trade deadline day for the NHL it still exists. There's still some trades, but it's certainly fallen off. Trade deadline for the NFL is now a thing. And it's, as we saw this week, we're still, producer Sean says, November 5th. So we're still a few weeks away from the trade deadline, and we're already seeing big names being traded this season.
Yeah, November 5th at 4 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, the NBA, for example, or Major League Baseball to an extent, but the NFL is starting to get in on the fun. And I quite enjoy it, and it makes sense for all teams. Like, I think it made sense for the Jets, just how it made sense for the Raiders, who are going nowhere, and now you acquire another relatively high top 100 draft pick. It made sense for the Browns, who, again, are going nowhere, and you acquire a top 100 draft pick from the Bills. Again, I understand all sides of the equations, and so far, I think the trade compensation has been fair. And it makes sense for all parties involved. And quite frankly, I enjoy this. It also gives us something to talk about. So, yay.
Yes, and we will talk about those trades specifically when we get to the games involving those teams, because this is the preview show. So, as always, we're going to go game by game. Excuse me, for every game except for...
You okay there? Monday Night Football.
I had to mute my microphone there, so I didn't, completely just cough in the microphone. But yeah, we're going to talk about every single game except for the Monday Night Football doubleheader, because we will have a show on Monday next week. I know this week it was Tuesday, but we'll talk about the Monday Night Football games Monday morning. So 13 of the 15 games we're going to go through today, and then give out our picks, which have been profitable, Sterling. Quick update on the records.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say, if you put like $1 million down on every single pick, you'd be up at least $1 million for both of us. I'm just saying.
Correct. That's all. It's just that easy. It's just that easy. You have to place $18 million bets at risk $1 million.
And if you would, though, you'd be up $1 million right now. I'm just saying.
You are sitting at, the records are there on the screen. Sterling, you're at 10-8 for plus 1.91 units. I'm at 10-7-1 plus 0.3.98 units. I think a lot of the work there on my profit kind of margin there is I hit the Saints in week 2 against the Cowboys as a big upset, which was like over 2 units just on that play. But still, both of us, well in the green. 2-1, we both went last week. We both hit our spread bet. I went Titans plus 8.5. Oh, no, sorry. That's later today. Spoiler alert. I went Texans -7 last week. Did you give out the picks last week? I wasn't able to do it.
Yes,
on
the
show.
Yes.
I'm changing my pick, by the way. I just spoiled what my pick was going to be. Nope, not anymore. Now I'm going to switch my pick. It's going to be something different. I do like the Titans, though. Texans -7 last week. You took my Falcons last week. Wow, thank you. Great pick. Falcons -6 against the Panthers. We hit both of our spread bets. Also hit both of our total bets. Mine was close, barely did it, but I did hit the over on 51.5 between the Commanders and Ravens. Needed that last-second field goal by the Commanders to do it. And you could have bet just one team in your game to hit the over because the Bucs did it by themselves, put up a 50-burger against the New Orleans Saints. Neither of us hit our underdogs, but we can't really blame it because as of recording last Wednesday, none of those teams that were underdogs when we were recording that day ended up going on to win. The Colts became underdogs and the Bears became underdogs as the games got closer. And then those were the two only underdogs to hit the entire week. So we could have gave out any team and we would have lost.
Which is funny because I actually picked the Colts in my actual betting, which was funny because I'm like, I can't do that to Ian.
Yeah,
You're
or
bullying me in your
might
mind.
have been underdogs when you recorded. I know they opened early in the week as favorites. They might have been underdogs by the time we recorded, but I think it was a point. And you said you didn't want
1 point, and I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah. So we had no shot of picking upset winner. So 2-1 for both of us last week. There you go. I gave you a bonus pick. I like Titans this week, but I'm not now going to switch that for the end of the show. I'll give you a different pick. Good thing I bet on all 272 games because I have another pick I can just throw right in there. So before we get into our game-by-game preview, it is the greatest time of year again. Football is back, and it is here to stay until February. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. Win up to 1,000 times their money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player stats. Sterling, I told the people yesterday I'd be here with my Underdog lineup for Thursday Night Football between the Saints and the Broncos. I have delivered. Are you ready to hear my Underdog lineup for tomorrow night? Let's do it. I'm going to back Bo Nix, who I'm still a believer in, higher than 217.5 pass plus rush yards. Got to get the rush yards in there as well. He's been doing some great things with his legs. I got Cortland Sutton higher than 3.5 receptions. Will Lutz higher than 1.5 field goals made. And then I'm going to fade the rookie. I'll go Spencer Rattler lower than 86.5 passing yards in the first half. That is my Underdog lineup for Thursday Night Football. Hopefully, I can get the win here. I talked about that Devin Singletary one. Needing one more carry is going to haunt me for a long time. But go ahead if you want to either tail that Underdog lineup, or you can go ahead and fade it, do the opposite, or just make one of your own. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code Stacking the Box. That's all one word, Stacking the Box. And Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash Pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code Stacking the Box, all one word, to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
I think I would have gone less with Bo Nix and more with Spencer, but I do like Will Lutz. I love the Will Lutz one. I think Will Lutz has a big game. I think there's a lot of stalling out.
Field goals.
A lot of field goals.
Listen, let's talk about it right now because, let's get on the Thursday Night Football. Broncos 2.5-point favorites, total at 36.5. So with that total, you think it might be a field goal fest. Broncos defense is very good, Sterling. Extremely good, especially their secondary. So I think to go to my underdog lineup, especially in the first half. You got a rookie making a second start, bright lights, Thursday Night Football, going up against one of the best secondaries in the NFL. Slow start in the first half. Saints probably going to try to run the ball, establish the run a little bit. So I'm not going full game Spencer Rattler under, or less than just the first half.
Fair, and I actually agree with a lot of the premise of what you're saying. I just think 86 is so low. Yeah. I agree. Establish the run, focus on easy, quick passes. Rashid Shaheed out right with the injury. That's a big loss for the Saints. You expect Chris Olave, though, to now be focused a lot more. He's a very, very talented player.
I think Chris Olave got ruled out.
Is he now officially
2 hours ago, ruled out? Breaking news.
So he's ruled out, and is Rashid Shaheed also ruled out? Because if so, then I am now all
2 hours
board.
ago, most likely to be without the following players: Derek Carr, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and Taysom Hill. I mean, the Broncos are 2.5-point favorites. Listen, the Broncos have a lot of issues, especially offensively, but I don't know how the Saints are going to move the ball in this game.
So now I'm with you, and I ripped the under. You know what? Great pick, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I'm shocked. The total for this game, 36.5. That seems like an easy under on that. Once again, the Saints have a rookie quarterback making a second career start on Thursday Night Football against a very good defense, and you don't have your top 2 starting receivers. You don't have Taysom Hill. I guess just kind of try to get the ball in Alvin Kamara's hands as much as possible. Shaheed out. Yeah, Chris Olave out. Not good.
I now really enjoy what you put for the under of Spencer Rattler.
Kamara PPR monster incoming. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Who else are they even getting the ball to? And who's a tight end? Juwan Johnson?
Yeah, Juwan Johnson.
Any other thoughts for this game for Thursday Night Football? I thought the Thursday Night Football games are all divisional games.
This is going to be a bad game, dude. It's
going to be
atrocious.
Al Michaels is not going to be happy in this game.
No.
Sassy Al Michaels is going to be out in full force.
All right. Turkey Kaglar says, hey, guys, which 2 to start this week for wide receiver, tight end, and wide receiver spots? Addison, Juju, McBride, Addison, Mooney, Pittman Jr., Bub Means this week. STD, only 40-plus yard reception, 1 point.
Standard scoring, only 40-yard receptions or 1 point.
That's tough.
I'd definitely go McBride there.
Yeah, McBride, I think, is the obvious one.
McBride and probably Mooney. Or Pittman.
You go Mooney?
Pittman's been getting a ton of targets, but he's for the amount of targets he's gotten, not a ton of receptions and receiving yards. He has scored a touchdown in 2 straight weeks, but also he's going to be hurt by the fact Anthony Richardson is, I think, starting.
Yeah, the touchdowns have helped Pittman Jr., which you expect to go back to the mean, but you also expect the targets to obviously translate more into yardage going forward. I'd go McBride and Pittman Jr., but I think it's a tough spot. I think Pittman Jr.'s variance is so high, but I think Addison and Mooney also have that variance as well. Mooney probably has the best chance of getting one of those 40-plus yard receptions.
Great point. I'll go McBride and Mooney. McBride's been racking up the receptions lately.
Yeah.
Sean Payton revenge game on Thursday night as well. Does that do anything for you? Not really.
No.
I've stopped caring about Sean Payton.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Moving on, then we can move right along to another great game. It is the final London game. There's still a Germany game left, which I think is next week, or is it the week after? But this is the final London game. It is the Patriots against the Jaguars. The Patriots, who are kind of exciting in a sense now, at least exciting that we get to watch Drake May and kind of see what he's made of. He gets to take on a pretty weak defense, a pretty terrible secondary in the Jaguars. But the Jaguars, 5.5-point favorites. A Jaguars team who maybe deserves another win or 2 on their record, but still not a good year for the Jaguars. Do they deserve to be a 5.5-point favorite in this spot?
No. What have they shown? I mean, they've gotten hammered by teams. I mean, The Bears embarrassed them. Drake May at least looks competent, and I do think, Jalen Polk wasn't the recipient, but it was, Pop Douglas, and you're seeing the New England offense at least take off under Drake May. Obviously, the interceptions aren't great, but 3 touchdowns through the air, that's obviously a step in the right direction for New England. And the Jaguars, they've looked like they've rolled over. I said last week, if they don't go out and beat the Bears, when they should have the advantage of playing in London before, like that's, I think, a big deal. That travel, I think, is a massive difference. They had the advantage. They blew it. They must not want to play for Doug Peterson. That's not a great team by any means, but it looked like they rolled over. I think Doug Peterson, especially if they lose this game, he's done.
Gets left in London. Yeah.
I think even if they win, they might be one of those where, okay, congrats, we'll can you off of a win, right? Because that happens sometimes. Wow. Sometimes, especially in baseball, with managers, they'll wait till they get one more win and then fire them. I almost think that either way, Doug Peterson's not making it through the year. They might just start fresh after London.
Yeah, unless maybe they come out and just completely dominate the Patriots. But I mean, and I've talked about the Jaguars this way in the past too. Is that a lot of the magnifying glass on the Jaguars this season has been on Trevor Lawrence, and rightfully so, in the offense. But their defense is a bottom 5 unit. They're actually dead last in the NFL in opponent EPA per dropback. I think they're third last in opponent yards per pass attempt. Quarterbacks are torching this Jaguars team. Even don't forget a couple of weeks ago when the Jaguars did get a win against the Colts. They're up 14 with like 5 minutes left, and then they let Joe Flacco score like 2 touchdowns on 2 offensive plays, and the game was all of a sudden tied. Now, to the Jaguars' credit, their offense went down and kicked a game-winning field goal. But I mean, their secondary just completely gave up a 14-point victory with like 5 minutes left in the game. So yeah, their defense, I mean, everyone's talking about the offense. I think we got to talk about how bad their defense is. So if Drake May is going to ever have a really big game this season, it might be in this spot. Do the Jaguars get any advantage for the fact that they've already been in London?
Oh yeah. Again, this is a massive advantage. Like right. This again, I think is the biggest advantage for any team is their second week in London. Right. That travel is brutal, man. Everything is unique. Everything's different. The time difference, obviously, but just so many unique factors of travel. Yeah, I like the Jags, but not 5.5. I think they win the game, but I don't think it matters for Doug Peterson, which is too bad because I think Doug Peterson's actually a decent head coach, just not a great team.
All right, let's move on to an AFC game. The Buffalo Bills are the biggest favorites of the week. They are 8.5-point favorites, even some places 9-point favorites against the Tennessee Titans. Bills, obviously a big a team with a lot of storylines around them this week. They beat the Jets on Monday Night Football and then traded for Amari Cooper, who I think is going to make a big difference. Because if you looked at the Bills and kind of their biggest issue is that they still haven't had... They've got some decent play from their wideouts, but no one has come even close to establishing themselves as the guy, the target for Josh Allen, the consistent guy who's going to be open for the Buffalo Bills. And Amari Cooper, in theory, should be able to do exactly that for them. Now, I assume Amari Cooper is going to play this week. I don't know how much he can contribute, given he was on the team, 5 days prior to when they're going to kick off. That's a tough to not only learn the playbook and learn all the plays, but that's going to be tough to find your chemistry with the quarterback as well. But At the end of the day, I do think he's putting on his helmet in this game. Do the Bills roll the Tennessee Titans?
I think so, but I wouldn't touch this. 8.5 is so much. It could always be a backdoor cover. Like I don't know if I touch. I know you said you love the Titans plus 8.5. I wouldn't touch this game personally. I think the Bills are a much better team. I think the Titans are bad. I think there's some unrest with Calvin Ridley, which I'm also laughing like, dude, you signed with that team. You knew what you were getting into. You knew who the quarterback was, and now you're going to complain? You could have signed with a lot of other teams. Yeah, maybe it was less money, but I don't think that just makes me laugh when receivers do that. And they always say, I want to win. That's most important. And then they sign with the team that makes the most or that gives them the most money. I'm not blaming them. Sure, I get it. But then you complain and you wonder why your team sucks. You knew what you were getting into. You had a choice. You had an opportunity. You chose that. So Calvin, I don't feel bad for you. And I'm sure he doesn't care because he's going to cry into his money. But I like the Bills in this one. Josh Allen's the second best quarterback in the NFL. Their defense can be a little hit and miss. Clearly, as Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, their offense looked the best it's looked all season long against them. But if I were going to lean one way, I would lean Bills -8.5.
When the Bills acquired Amari Cooper, they released Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Justin in the chat says Sterling, get ready to sign MVS at some point. At least maybe he'll turn into playoff MVS in a few months. That would be very Chiefs-esque for that to happen.
Yeah, that's honestly, I'd be surprised if he was not a Kansas City Chief at some point. I'm not kidding.
The Chiefs are literally the Patriots all over again. It's unbelievable. It's already happened with Juju Smith. I mean, these are guys who leave. They're good on they're decent on the Chiefs. They leave, go somewhere else. They stink. They come back and they're good again. This is the Patriots all over again. It's unbelievable. I'll take Calvin Ridley back in the Falcons. No, I won't. He gave up on us. I love the Titans. Like I said, this is going to be my best spread bet. I'm gonna change it now. When people are thinking about the most elite defenses in the NFL this season, what defenses come to mind? Probably the Jets, maybe the Broncos, maybe the Chargers, but it is the Tennessee Titans that lead the entire National Football League this season in opponent yards per play. Teams are getting just 4.3 yards per play against this Titans defense. They also lead the NFL in opponent success rate at 36.2%. I will never lay 8.5 points on a team going up against a team that is by more than one metric the best defense in the NFL. For me to lay this many points on any team, the team they're playing against better be worse both offensively and defensively. Certainly not the case in this one. Also, Bills, by the way, over their last 3 games, you're going to hear me say the magic word, Sterling, net yards per play over the last 3 games. The Buffalo Bills second last in the NFL over their last 3 games. The Jets outgained them. They are obviously the benefactors of the Jets hitting an upright on 2 separate field goal attempts. I thought the Jets deserved to win that game.
Okay, but you're not going to bring up the fact that Tyler Bass shanked one as well as an extra point?
Did he shank a field goal too? I thought it was just an extra point.
He missed a field goal and an extra point.
All right, fair point then. I don't know why I don't remember the field goal. Okay, still yards per play, the Jets outgain the Bills. My main point is I don't think they've played as good as the public perception of them has been. According to Justin, Titans do come to mind for an elite defense. Well, there you go. Maybe they do. I don't hear people talk about the Titans as much as I do. They've had a stacked and underrated D-line for years now. Yes, correct. And to be fair, Sterling and I have talked in the offseason how good of an offseason they had. And I didn't feel enough people were talking about how good of an offseason they had too. Jalen says this screams a multi-Josh Allen turnover game. Titans upset victory. I like that. Wouldn't be, I'm not going to say that, but I am going to say it's going to be like a scary game where like at the end, we're going to be like, oh my God, are the Bills actually going to lose this? And then they will pull it out. But to Jalen's point, Josh Allen, no interceptions so far this season. First one comes this weekend.
Ooh, bold.
I might bet that. Are those odds up yet?
Rip it.
All right. Yeah. So I just don't think this spread should be this big for a team with this good of a defense. Let's move on to, I'm going to try to see if I can find Josh Allen interception odds, but why don't you talk about this game while I'm doing that, Sterling? It is the Texans and Packers, a few very, very good games this weekend. This is one of them. 2 kind of dark horse-ish kind of contenders in either conference. Texans in Green Bay. Point spread's 2.5 in favor of the Packers. What are your thoughts with this one?
Yeah, so if you take the 3-point home knowledge or whatever you want to call that, the 3-point home, the points that the home team typically gets when it comes to the betting odds, then this is a pick'em game, which I am surprised by. I think the Packers are a good team. They've been better defensively than I expected. Offensively, Jordan Love coming back from injury is looking good now. I just don't see them being the favorite over the Texans. I think the Texans are a more rounded team. I think Joe Mixon's been great. I know Nico Collins is injured now, so it feels like anytime they get a player back, like Tank Dell, all of a sudden what happens? Another guy gets injured. But they are very, very deep. I think C.J. Stroud's a better quarterback. I like the Texans in this one, although this should be one of the more fun games of this weekend slate.
Josh Allen to throw an interception plus 110. Done. Absolutely. Okay. I'm not sold on the Texans yet.
I'm not sold on the Packers.
So I feel like we have kind of the same opinion, but about opposite teams.
Correct.
Because I'm sold on the Packers. I'm not sold on the Texans.
That's hilarious. Yeah, because I'm sold on the Texans. I'm not on the Packers.
All right. Interesting then. We'll see who comes out on top on that one.
You want to do a little friendly?
Yep. It's been a while since we've done a friendly. What do you want to bet?
Do I get the odds? Do I get the points?
Yeah, you get the points. Yeah, well, yeah, I guess, yeah, to make it 50-50, we'll do spread. 2.5.
I get the points. I'm taking Texans plus 2.5. I'm taking the underdog because I have Stones, Ian.
Well, if it's spread, it's a 50-50, so.
What do you want to do? Like a 6-pack? What do you want to do?
6-pack, done. 6-pack or a bottle of wine.
Weird, but okay.
I'm more of a wine guy lately.
Well, I'm a bourbon guy, so sorry, pal. We don't always get what we want, but if you try
okay,
sometimes,
fine.
you just
six
might
pack
find.
of beer. 6-pack of beer.
Okay.
I mean, the wine part probably would have been cheaper, to be honest.
Okay, fine. I'll do wine. If you want wine, if you're in a
no
wine
6-pack of beer. No, I'm never drinking wine ever again.
About it?
Nope, I'm never drinking wine ever again. Beer only. Justin says it feels like an upset pick. Packers win. Well, if the Packers win, then it wouldn't be an upset pick. Texans are the underdogs.
Yeah.
So if you feel that way, if you think the Packers should be the underdogs, then maybe the actual bet would be the Texans. Okay, that is going to be an interesting game, though. You know what's not going to be an interesting game? The worst game of the week, Dolphins and Colts. Does anybody... To be honest, though, right now, if the regular season ended today, the Colts would be in the playoffs. They'd be the 7th seed in the AFC. And the Dolphins aren't they're not really out of it. They're only one game behind, 2-4. But this is the game I care about the least.
Yeah, this game. I don't care who's the starting quarterback for the Dolphins. I don't care. That team is buns without Tua. Until Tua comes back, good luck. The Colts are so hit and miss. Jonathan Taylor, questionable. Anthony Richardson, questionable. Looks like both may play. Michael Pittman Jr. had a back injury and then suited up, and now he's fine. I don't know what's going on there. The Colts have more talent overall, especially at quarterback, right? I like the Colts defense better than the Dolphins. I like the Colts in this one. Over under 44.5 seems pretty high, personally, because I don't know how the Dolphins are really going to score. But I like what I'd probably do is I'll take the Colts and I would take the under.
I got a stat for you here if I can find it. And then it is related to the two quarterbacks in this game, who I believe it will be Tyler Huntley for the Dolphins and Anthony Richardson for the Colts. In my long list of notes here, if I can just go ahead and search up this game. There it is. Okay. Amongst all NFL quarterbacks this season who have played at least 60 snaps, there are 36 quarterbacks who have played at least 60 snaps this season. Tyler Huntley and Anthony Richardson rank 34th and 35th in EPA plus CPOE composite, which is a real nerd stat of how well these quarterbacks have performed. So 34th and 35th out of 36 quarterbacks.
Who's 36th?
Guess. No, someone who's no longer a starter.
Oh, Jacoby Brissett?
No, Bryce Young.
Oh, makes sense.
So the only quarterback who's played worse than Anthony Richardson and Tyler Huntley this year is Bryce Young.
The one thing I'll say about Anthony Richardson, though, is he is a very explosive player. Like, we knew there was going to be growing pains for sure. He looked better last year in his first few games, but this is what he is. He's a gunslinger with great legs. He's physical. He's got a lot of traits, but he's got to hone it back, right? He is the what would Josh Allen look like if he hit what I think the majority of people thought Josh Allen was going to be when he was drafted?
Yeah.
This is kind of what people thought Josh Allen was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. If he plays, if he's involved in 40 plays, 35 of them are going to be bad plays, but then those other 5 are going to be great. They're going to be
like insane
70-yard touchdowns or like a great 35-yard run or yeah, correct. Tyler Huntley probably does not have those 5 plays in him. So yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah.
And I am a bit, I will forgive Anthony Richardson a little bit more. He's still very young. I mean, he played 4 games last year, so hurt for a couple games this year. So he has fewer than 10 games under his belt already. So yeah, I'm a little bit more forgiving to Anthony Richardson. Give him some more time.
Yeah.
Moving on, let's talk about my dirty birds. The Seattle Seahawks, the Battle of the Birds, actually. The Seattle Seahawks in Atlanta. The Falcons are 3-point favorites. I'll let you. Total's 51.5, which is high. I'll let you talk first because my opinion might surprise you.
Yeah, I would probably rip the under, although I could, if the over hit, I wouldn't be surprised, but I think the most likely scenario, like 70-30, the under hits, right? If I'm playing the odds, I think 70% of the time the under hits in this game. I don't know if I would take the Falcons with the points. If it was 2.5, I'd probably rip the Falcons. I think the Falcons probably win by 3. But this should be a great game. This is, again, one of the more fun ones. I think it is more of a coin flip. I just don't like the 3 points because I do think this is going to be a close game, and that feels more like a push. And I don't know if I'm going to bet on a push,
especially with the types of games the Falcons have played in. I mean, they've all been come down to the last drive, except for last week against the Panthers. I actually do like the Seahawks and the points in this one. Before their kind of stretch against NFC South opponents, I thought the Falcons were being underrated by the market and by the media in general. Now that they've won 3 straight games, I now, as tough as it is for me to say as a Falcons fan, I think we got to pump the brakes on them.
Hey, record that. Can we mark that? Can we let's mark that. All right, Sean, I'm gonna need you to mark that. That'd be great. Make a clip of Iain saying that the Falcons are overrated now. That's great. Love that. Appreciate it.
No, I'll claim that was AI. That was not actually my voice. But seriously, I mean, listen, I'm not backing out on the Falcons. I'm not saying they're not a good football team. They're not going to win the NFC South, but they do have some issues. Mainly, Jalen Butler says possible playoff matchup Seattle against Atlanta. I guess, yeah, maybe possible. Seahawks getting a playoff spot. Ooh. That was a classic. That was a classic playoff meeting back in the Matt Ryan days against. I think we beat them once. They beat us once. Regardless, Falcons defense is 31st in the NFL in opponent third down conversion rate. That's not good. Their defense has a lot of issues. Now, I will give their defense credit where in the second half, at halftime, they've made some very good adjustments and they played a lot better in the second half. But their defense, that third down being the most glaring, does have some issues. And it makes me nervous playing against an offense that has as many weapons as Seattle's offense. Now, I think Seattle needs to start running the ball more. They have the lowest run play rate in the NFL. They could run, because they've actually been running the ball effectively when they do. If they could start running the ball a little bit more, and if they start doing that this week, I don't know. I don't know. I'm nervous for this game as a Falcons fan. I would much rather take the 3 points with the Seahawks.
Agreed.
I mean, I'm looking at like a lot of like the media picks and who media thinks is going to win. Everyone just kind of seems like, yeah, the Falcons will win this game. Like I'm seeing few people saying the Seahawks are going to win, which to me screams the Seahawks are going to win.
I think it's a close game. I think it's a great game.
Right.
It's one that I want to watch.
All right. It should be a fun one. The Bengals and the Browns. The spread for this game was -4.5 in favor of the Bengals. After the Amari Cooper trade, that line has moved up 2 points to 6.5 now in favor of the Bengals. The Browns might be throwing in the towel on their season because not only do they refuse to bench Deshaun Watson, who stinks, they also traded away their best offensive weapon in Amari Cooper. So, Sterling, let me start with that. Are the Browns throwing in the towel?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it sure seems like it. You don't trade Amari Cooper unless you do that. That team's bad. The Browns are horrendous. Defensively, they've taken a massive step back. They're no longer that home defense that's absolutely insane and, you better watch out for them.
No.
Yeah, Bengals offense is awesome.
Yeah.
The Bengals defense is atrocious. But do they win by a touchdown? Yeah. The Browns are the Browns might be the worst team in football, which is wild when you have Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett, and you actually have some decent dudes. Your quarterback's one of, if not the worst quarterback in football. Mm-hmm. You no longer have weapons. Defense is top heavy, right? As far as you got some big name guys, and then the rest is not really doing they're pulling their weight. Yeah, I guess the Bengals get their second victory.
Storyline for this game that will be fun is that Nick Chubb's back. Does that change anything for the Browns offense?
It's awesome. I'm happy for him. Nick Chubb is a great player to watch. Almost underrated in some aspects. I don't know how much of a workload he's going to get, though, right? I don't know if he's going to come in and all of a sudden Jerome Ford's just getting 2 touches. I think it'd be a pretty hefty split. Happy for him, but he's not going to move the needle, at least for me, in this one.
Justin says Cleveland won't get a, quote, happy ending, unquote, this week. Watson is 2 scoops. And producer Sean, yes, this is a great stat. The producer Sean just sent in 0 for 26 in their last 26 third downs with Deshaun Watson under center. Not good. We got to rip through some of these. I have yapped too much and we're a little bit behind schedule now. I apologize for that. The Lions against the Vikings. Have you? Well, never mind. No, because we talked about this yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
The Vikings are 2.5 point favorites, which does not make sense to me. This means on neutral field to be a pick 'em. I don't think the Vikings are. Maybe they are. I'm just not ready to kind of make that leap myself and bet on the Vikings as if they are as good as the Detroit Lions. And I think you agree with me on that.
Yeah, 100% could not agree more. I think the Vikings are a really good team, but I don't think they're in the Lions category yet. And maybe they'll get there, and maybe they keep outproducing what the national media or what I think common sense would scream about that team. But I'm not there yet. This is another game, because they've had a relatively tough schedule. This is another game that could put another little great pin, a little award in their season, in their hat. I need to see it. Obviously, no Aiden Hutchinson is massive. We'll see if the Lions are able to even generate any sort of pressure against Sam Darnold. You give him a lot of time, and you have Justin Jefferson. Well, good luck. That's going to be difficult. TJ Hawkinson looks like he might be back this game, right? The TJ Hawkinson revenge game could be fun. Yeah, I'm still going the Lions, but if the Vikings win this one, at some point we have to just say they're a really damn good team.
It is just so difficult for a team to go from not being a good team last year to all of a sudden being the best team in the conference, second best team in the conference. They'd probably be underdogs to the 49ers, but pick them with the Lions. Like, usually, even though you can take significant leaps, it's a little bit of a slower process. So I think that's maybe our pause, is that's like, I don't know if I've ever seen a team go from bad to the best in one season. Producer Sean says Vikings are the best point differential, plus 63 in the NFL, and are number 1 in the league in DVOA. Lions are second best point differential, plus 60 in the NFL, and are number 2 in the league in DVOA. Producer Sean just coming up with some stats today.
And I love DVOA, by the way. I love DVOA. It's a great statistic. And I will also point out again, to that point, the Vikings are really good defensively. They've done a great job this year.
Yes. So if you go by DVOA and point differential, this is the game between the top 2 teams in the NFL so far this season. Jalen says the Detroit defense is either going to have to step up without Hutchinson or look abysmal. Correct. Eagles, Giants. I don't think we need to say much about this game since we're kind of running short on time. It's a game. Yeah. The Eagles are still favored to win the NFC East, so this is the type of game. I think we're all waiting for the Eagles to look like the Eagles, and they just have not quite yet looked like the Eagles.
Yeah, this is
Saquon coming home.
Yeah, we're the Saquon revenge game. I like the Eagles in this one. The Giants are interesting because Daniel Jones occasionally looks like a legit NFL quarterback, and the other times you're like, okay, no, that's Danny Dimes, baby. I'll roll with the Eagles, but they need to start proving it. And Nick Sirianni needs to stop being a clown. Yes. Like, you beat the Browns by 4. Dude, how are you celebrating and talking smack after that?
And if the Eagles want to win and cover the spread, they've got to find a way to slow down the Giants' pass rush, which is still the best pass rush in the NFL so far this season, which is shocking to me, but kudos to them. Raiders and Rams. Rams touchdown favorites. Still a lot of injuries. Is Cooper Kupp back? I know he's questionable this week, but they're still missing Avia. They're missing Nakua. I believe still Joe Noteboom, I believe, is missing this week as well, and maybe Cooper Kupp still. But yet 7-point favorites against a Raiders team that is kind of going through it now without Devontae Adams.
I think 7 points is entirely too much. I think this is one of those games where the Raiders rally behind and say, hey, that guy, he didn't want to be here. He's gone. Mm-hmm. There's reasons why he didn't want to be there, but he's gone. And all of a sudden the Raiders rally and they have one of those emotional, I don't want to say victories, but emotional close games. Like this is why you have Antonio Pierce. It's the emotion. It's the It's the rah-rah. It's the trying to get your guys going. The Raider emphasis, if you will. I think the Rams probably still win. I don't think it's enough, but I think the Raiders come out playing a very, very physical brand of football, and they keep it close against the Rams, even if the Rams still win. But give me the 7 points for the Raiders.
Cooper Kupp had worked out individually today, did not practice with the team. That to me screams like he's still a week away. But it is not confirmed whether or not he is or is not going to play this weekend. But if he's individually doing stuff, but not with the team, I would guess that's probably next week kind of thing. Moving on to the Panthers and the Commanders. Commanders 7.5-point favorites. Can the Commanders defense do enough to win this game by more than a touchdown? I guess would be the only question.
I feel like 51.5 is a little too much, right? That
Sure.
Seems like the Commanders have a great offense. Yes. Panthers don't. You're right. It comes down to, is the Commanders defense good enough? And is the Panthers offense good enough? I like the under in this one. I think 7.5 might be a little too rich. I think maybe folks are reacting a little too much to what we've seen from the Commanders so far this season. I think they're a really fun team. I think they're a solid team. I don't think they're an elite team. 7.5 points against any team in the NFL typically screams elite versus trash. I think this is a good team, a fun team versus a bad team. Commanders win. Won't tell us much in this one. Sean says Panthers have lost their games by an average margin of 20.8 points per game. Maybe I'm giving the Panthers too much credit. I think 7.5 is still just a lot of points in any NFL game.
For the reason why I'm taking all the points of the Titans because their defense is so good, it is the opposite reason why I will not be laying the points of the Commanders because their defense is too bad. When we're talking about spreads of over a touchdown, you got to be dominant on both sides of the football, in my opinion, and the Commanders, as good as they are offensively, not that good, actually terrible defensively. I want to address this in the chat here. Money MLV says, let me get this straight. KOC wins 13 games his first year with a horrible defense. I'll read the whole comment first and then address a couple parts of it. I'll do this quick because I know we are now very short on time. The second year, the Vikings didn't get hit with the injury bug, but we have B-Flow, and he takes that same garbage defense and turns them into a top 15 defense. This year, we have everyone healthy, and everyone's shocked the Vikings are a good team. You guys didn't know it, but we knew. Skull, listen. Thank you for the comment, first of all. Second of all, if you were that sure, if it was so obvious to you the Vikings were going to be a great team this year, then I hope you bet on them to make the playoffs. I hope you hammered the over on their win total. I hope you bet on them to win the division. Because if you didn't do any of that, well, then this is just hindsight speaking. Also, let's be honest. When the Vikings won 13 games a couple of years ago, they then lost to the Giants in the playoffs. That was a fraudulent record, if we're being honest. And come on, Vikings fans, I think, would say that 13-game win season was a little bit fraudulent. Don't act like people who know ball knew the Vikings were going to be this good this year.
It's Sam Darnold. You lose to Neil
Sam
Hunter.
Darnold, who failed in New York. He failed in Carolina. A backup in San Francisco. It was obvious he was going to turn into the guy he's been through the first 5 games for them. Come on.
You lose to Neil Hunter, your best defensive pass rusher.
Right.
Again,
exactly. Listen, be pumped that your team is this good. Good for you. But don't now be like, oh, yeah, nobody knows ball. I knew the Vikings were going to be this good. Stop. Just enjoy how good your team is. Unbelievable. Let's talk Chiefs and 49ers.
I appreciate the comment, though, Money. I
do appreciate the comment. Thank you. Chiefs and 49ers. 49ers 1.5-point favorites. Chiefs are an underdog. Patrick Mahomes against the spread as an underdog in his career, I believe, is 11-1-1. When he is an underdog, a 1.5 underdog, I believe pretty much the same line as a Super Bowl. You're a Chiefs guy. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I'll go quick here. I think the Chiefs win. Shocker. I actually think they're a good matchup against the Niners. That's what it comes down to. George Kittle's going to feast. Take that as you will. George Kittle has 5 touchdowns in 5 games this year. George Kittle's going to feast. Ayuk's not been great. The yak ability of the 49ers has been lacking. Brock Purdy's air yards have been great this year. He's been pretty damn good throwing the football. His air yards are outstanding, but the yak that is typically there for the 49ers is no longer. That should be a concern against the Chiefs defense, who's very good in the secondary. McDuffie, clamps. Jalen Watson, believe it or not, clamps. So what does that mean? Well, that means you're going to have to get a lot of yak, and that means George Kittle will have to go off. Not only that, that means Jordan Mason, if he plays, they'll have to be very effective on the ground. The Niners are a great running team. but the Chiefs' defense against the run has been elite this season. It's why I don't think it's a great matchup for the 49ers. That's my 2 cents.
I'm not super confident about this. I am going to take the 49ers, though. I don't think the Chiefs have been nearly as good as the record indicates this season, and I think the 49ers are hitting their stride a little bit, leading the NFL in net yards per play in their last 3 games. So, but I'm not passionate enough where I'm going to argue with you on this one.
I'm happy because anytime you pick against the Chiefs, they win. So thank you. This is good.
Correct.
It's a good omen, y'all.
Correct. Sunday Night Football, my biggest question for this one is in a week where we had Texans, Packers, Lions, Vikings, 49ers, Chiefs. I'm sure it's probably a broadcasting issue, but we got to sit through this amazing slate of games, and then we get treated to the Jets and the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Who cares? I'm sick of seeing Aaron Rodgers' face.
Is it Russ? Is it Fields?
It is Russ, isn't it? It hasn't
looks
been
like it's going to be
Russ,
which is shocking to me.
Well, Mike Tomlin made a good point. I mean, Justin Fields has been good, but to win a Super Bowl, you need great play. So what are you going to just kind of keep going with good and hope for the best?
So you go to Russ?
Dog. Try it. I say give Russ 2 games and then go back to Justin Fields. If it's the same Russ as it was as we saw in Denver, give him 2 games and then go back.
He can't move like Fields, and that's been one of the best things of the Steelers offense. Everyone's complaining about the wide receivers and the lack of numbers. I'm like, he's throwing to Scotty Miller and Van Jefferson. No disrespect to those guys, but it's not like he's throwing to A.J. Brown and Devontae Adams. George Pickens has been good, right? He's George Pickens, but it's not like there's this buffet of weapons for Fields to choose from. His legs have been the best thing. I'm shocked by this. You're 4-2. You've surprised people by being 4-2. Justin Fields is doing exactly what you wanted him to do, which was not turn the ball over. He has hardly turned the ball over at all. I'm just perplexed by this. Yeah, he's not having a whole bunch of explosive plays, but you wanted him to be a game manager, and he has been that. He's a game manager with legs. Russell Wilson is just a game manager. I don't get this move personally. I love the Jets in this one. The Jets have something to prove. They're going to come out. They're going to hammer the Steelers by at least a touchdown. Give me New York. Jets, Jets.
All right, there you go. Let's get to our picks. Let's just start with the spread because actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my spread pick because it was the Titans. I spoiled it. I'm going to change it to that right there. I'm going to take the Jets.
Yeah, it's a good call, right?
Yeah, I don't like to be fair, I have lost a lot of money betting against the Steelers the past number of years. Mike Tomlin continues to find ways to win games. But now we're talking about Russell Wilson, who, although I see where Mike Tomlin's coming from, Russell Wilson's not going to be that guy. And then, of course, we have Devontae Adams giving Aaron Rodgers another weapon. Coming off a game where the Jets offense looked, outside of probably the Patriots game, but that was the Patriots, the Jets offense looked the best they were all season there against the Bills. So, yeah, I like the Jets quite a bit on Sunday Night Football. Sterling, your spread bet of the week.
Yeah, I'm going with the Texans plus 2.5, the one that you and I have, that little six-pack on. First off, they're underdogs, shocking. And you can give me 2.5 points on this. Give me the Texans with the points. I think they win, but if you can give me a 2-point buffer, I'll take the buffer.
My total bet of the week, I'm going to go Patriots, Jaguars in London over 42.5, actually. Jaguars defense, I talked about, stinks. Their secondary stinks. The Patriots secondary actually also not very good. Patriots have been good at stopping the run, but their secondary's been bad. So I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a decent game. Pretty low total, low 40s. I'll take the over in London.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get there with you, but I understand where you are coming from, especially with Drake May. This is a starting quarterback over Jacoby. That's a big difference against one of the worst defenses in football. I get that. I'm going 49ers Chiefs under 47.5. I think 47.5 is too many points. I think, again, the Chiefs defense is one of the better defenses in the entire NFL. Offensively, they've been a control team. They're going to run the rock a ton against San Fran, and they're not really getting explosive plays. They're the least explosive team in the NFL at 5.5%. The Chiefs are, which is interesting. That includes 10-plus yard rushes and 20-plus yard passes. Chiefs are dead last in explosive plays. So 47.5 is too many points. Dormat, give me the under.
I'm going to go with the massive upset for my upset pick of the week. I'll go Raiders over Rams. Rams statistically have been terrible this season. Their defense has been bad. They're still extremely banged up. And yes, the Raiders are not a good football team, but I do think they're a little bit better than the market has kind of evaluated them as this week. So, I mean, Sterling, you even said it yourself. You think the spread's out of control. I'll take it one step further. I think the Raiders win this game outright.
Yeah, I think it's based on the odds, I think it's a smart move. Again, if you can get the odds like that against a team that is that injured and that inconsistent with the Rams, I like that pick. You're swinging for it. I think there's actually a lot of upsets this week, at least a good amount of upsets this week, especially some of these smaller spreads where I feel like they may have the line wrong on some of these small spreads. And here's one of the ones I think they have the line wrong on. That's the Lions and the Vikings. I'm going with the Lions in this one on the road. Again, nothing against the Vikings, nothing wrong. They've been very, very impressive. I'm just not ready to say they are there with the Lions yet. Give me the Lions on the road to win.
There you have it. We went a little long. I apologize for that, but we're done. So go ahead and subscribe to Stacking the Box on YouTube. We'll be back Monday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, to recap Sunday's action and also get you ready for a Monday Night Football doubleheader, including actually a couple of pretty good games, especially Tampa Bay and Baltimore. And Chargers and Cardinals isn't a bad game either. So 9:30 a.m. Monday morning. Subscribe to Stacking the Box on YouTube. Thank you all so much for watching. Enjoy this week's action. Gamble or bless if you decide to bet on the games, and we'll talk to you next week.